speed, the challenge, the adrenaline, the testosterone. Everything about Doom Eternal just instantly hooked me, get it? And when I say hooked, I do mean hooked. This thing was a drug so addicting, I have played it on every single device that I own. Mostly on Switch because it has the best control scheme for a controller, and I had that version at a time where the Xbox One was being stupid and our PS5 didn't exist yet. My PC time is like a fraction of the total time I have spent in the game, and I still have yet to beat it on Ultra Nightmare. How embarrassing. I was even one of the 2 people who genuinely loved battle mode. It was so unique, and I have had some incredibly adrenaline pumping games on both the side of the demons and as the Slayer. I was a Mancubus main, and the hot dog is my favorite cosmetic. And if you think anything differently, you're wrong. But more than even that was the ability to play full ports of Doom 1 and 2 entirely within Doom Eternal. This was basically the perfect entry point for me. It was so much more than a gimmick. It was my first opportunity to experience Doom on something that wasn't a freaking Sega Genesis Mini, which no longer works for some reason. All of this content was something that I could and did sink my teeth into over and over and over and over again. Doom firmly took a spot among my periodic obsessions, and boy, was I obsessed. Due to that past passion, I now have access to every single Doom game that's still available, so none of the mobile games unfortunately. And it's been that way for quite some time. All this to say, Doom Eternal was a pretty important game to me, and I hold it deeply in my heart for getting me into this incredible series. I didn't play Doom 2016 until this March. Yeah, despite having it for well over 3 years, I had never actually taken the time to get into and play the game because I'd always just default to Eternal, or I'd play something else like Doom Eternal, Ultra Kill, or Orange Roulette. There was basically a period of time where I just moved on to other things for a bit, you know, it happens. Hell, I bought the deluxe edition of Dark Ages and had early access to it, but only started seriously playing it recently, and I'm having a blast doing so. That game clicked with me much faster than 2016 did. When I did finally decide to pick up 2016 and try it out, I need to mention that I definitely had some expectations going into it. 1. This was going to be easy. 2. This was going to be fast. 3. There is no 3. So, were my expectations met? No. Here's what happened. I started my first ever run of the game on Nightmare difficulty. Why? Because I enjoy playing games on the hardest difficulty. I think it forces me to push all the game systems to their limit and represents the game at its most engaging. Also, at this point, I could play Doom Eternal on Nightmare difficulty pretty comfortably, at least on the Switch. And I figured that if I could do that, then this would be a walk in the park in comparison. It was not a walk in the park. I was absolutely blindsided by just how difficult this game really is. I think people really overstate how easy Doom 2016 is in comparison to the other games. You are going to have your ass handed to you on a brimstone platter if you aren't familiar with the quirks present in 2016, and unfamiliar with the quirks I was. For 1, glory kills. Don't do anything. What's 5 health going to do? Also, that health is much more finicky to pick up after it drops because it doesn't automatically get sucked into you. If you're at low health, you're pretty much better off killing as many demons as you can in that state so they drop health on their own, and then you can go and pick up all the drops. Secondly, enemies deal a metric ton of damage. A single imp fireball will kill you even if you're at like 70 health, and the soldier's charge shot? Do not get me started on the soldier's charge shot. And most importantly, there are far fewer safety nets in 2016 than there is in Eternal and in Dark Ages. The obvious thing to point out here is the fact that platforming is incredibly dangerous in 2016, and falling will lead to an immediate death. But other than that, 2016 doesn't have a grace hit. What I mean by that is that if you're at decently high health in Eternal or Dark Ages and get hit by an extremely high damaging attack, even if it technically should kill you, it won't, and will instead leave you at around 5 health. This is done so that you don't feel completely cheated by getting killed by a single attack that you possibly didn't even see while you're at a health value that should have realistically served to protect you from suffering such an outcome. Basically, it feels better to have a chance to bounce back rather than it does to immediately slam into concrete right after being on cloud 9. The fact that 2016 decides to go for the latter, along with the immense damage and minuscule health they receive from glory kills, means that this game is extremely punishing, especially in the early game. And if you aren't prepared for that, like I wasn't, then chances are you aren't going to be having a good time, and I can unfortunately confirm that by as late as the 6th level, almost halfway through the game, I was frustrated, disappointed, and confused. But I knew this was as much a problem with me as it was a problem with the game. I know of Doom 2016's immensely positive reputation, and I know that it has that reputation for a reason. People love to say that art is subjective, and that is true, but it's to a point.